Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my presentation. My name is Ashley Sanders, and I am doing my presentation on Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is a legislative initiative that was on our election ballot this year in November. Its main goal was to extend abortion access until fetal vitality, which is usually considered to be about 20 to 24 weeks. Currently, Florida has an abortion ban in place. It's a 6 week ban, meaning that women have up to 6 weeks to choose to get an abortion. Thereafter, they would have to request an exemption, which then they would have to fall underneath the categories that the current legislative and policy have in place, which could include things like rape or incest, with providing sufficient amount of documentation. So the overview of Amendment 4 is much of what I just gave you, but the bigger overview that I want to talk about is Roe versus Wade. So Roe versus Wade was overturned in June 2022. When that happened, the U.S. Supreme Court no longer had authority over dictating abortion rights or protecting abortion rights for women. That then gave power over to the state, which means each state has the power to instate their own abortion laws. Currently, in America, we have 13 states that have a complete ban on abortion. Three of those states, just an example, I wrote them down, are Alabama, Louisiana, and Tennessee. Abortion is completely banned with no exceptions for rape or incest. Florida currently lost on a 57%. They had a majority vote, 57%, but they didn't reach the 60% that they needed to pass Amendment 4. So that means currently Florida still has a 6 week ban on abortions. The problem with a ban on abortion is that studies estimate 24% increase of maternal deaths, and they estimate even a higher increase in maternal death in Black communities, Black mothers. They also predict that there'll be more denial of care in instances of ectopic pregnancy, which can also relate to serious health conditions. There's a fear climate for healthcare workers providing resources and care to people seeking abortion. And because Dobbs basically enables states to criminalize and penalize healthcare workers and patients that are seeking treatment for abortion outside of the current policy laws. It increases inequality, especially among people of color, women, but women of color, and also minorities who are very poor. I did want to bring up that they had case studies of women getting denied treatment. There was a case study in Wisconsin where a woman was denied treatment after having a miscarriage. She had some fetal matter left in her uterus, which can cause severe health risk. She was denied care in fear that the state would look at that as an abortion. So ultimately, she did survive that, but she bled in her home for 10 days. So that's just a case study and one example of many sort of the issues and the problems with banning abortion. They also predict that clinics in other states will be overburdened by the increase of people traveling out of state to get an abortion. So what I did, because I'm running out of time, I wrote a letter to 3 state senates in Florida. That's Lori Berman, Jason Piso, and Tina Polsky. Basically, my goal was to suggest that we rewrite Amendment 4. Part of the problem that people opposed it was because of vague language, the impact on parental notification, and public funding. So I rewrote this letter, and I basically said if we rewrite the Amendment 4 to make it more inclusive and more definitive, that possibly we could win that majority of vote. However, really what I would love to see is it go back to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court ultimately gain back control and protect women's rights, because I could argue that I believe it's a humanistic fundamental right. And then last but not least, funding. So, Floridians Protecting Freedom was a huge proponent in Amendment 4, and they raised a lot of money. I actually also joined their email list, and trying to join as a volunteer to see what they do, and they're great for funding. Also, Planned Parenthood is also a great one. So I think that if we could get enough funding to propose healthcare education around birth control, as well as a part of reinstating women's rights, that we should be very successful. Okay, thank you for tuning in. That's all. Bye bye.